I was a part of the negotiating committee in the previous contract when I was on the council. And what happened was, the reason they started a little bit earlier to see how far apart the sides were, for one. But what happened in the previous contract was we had the election, we had a lamed up councilman who was on his way out and just said, I'm done, and never showed up for any of the negotiations. They were trying to avoid that again, because that tends to happen too.
Well, what I didn't understand about that also, Trevor, you know, I mean, it was a situation where, you know, we had Eric Cosette that came in after the negotiation, and he voted on that contract. Never participated in any conversations or anything amongst the councilmen or anything, but he voted on it in favor. You know, I think it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths when you see legislation take place at the time period when it did take place, just like the purchase of City Hall or this pharmacy. You know, I mean, it's a time period where people feel like they're being taken advantage of.
But you've got to understand with the pharmacy, that's an opportunity that will or will not be there next week. That was something, if we were going to act on, we had to act on. And as per the committee's recommendation, it was 2/3 less than any other option we had with the current City Hall or anything else.
I know that, I understand that, Trevor, you know, but you know, we had a forum just recently at the fire station, which accommodated a lot more people than we ever had at a council meeting, other than the time when we was putting in sidewalks on 9th Street. You had probably 40 to 45 people at that council meeting, and basically even then at that time, that council went against the will of the people once again.
But I have to stand up on that one a little bit, Charlie, because I was the mayor when this all took place, and I feel myself that it's the responsibility also of a taxpayer to pay attention in these meetings, because we had several meetings before we voted on this to do the rec trail, and those minutes were in every meeting, and what we had talked about with discussion. The night all these people showed up was the night that it showed up on the agenda to be voted on, and that's when they threw all their concerns at the council and myself. They didn't show up for any of the discussion on any of the other meetings, and that's how that really took place.
And to Kenny's point, we have lengthy planning sessions. We talk about these things at meetings, in and around, in between meetings. We talk about these things. We don't just go willy-nilly, you know, throwing money around, which we've been made to look like we do.
You think we would have moved forward in buying that property behind pharmacy and the pharmacy if we would have known that Casey General Store wanted to buy the lighthouse and where Luigi Pizza is and the lot behind it? They would have known those lots were for sale behind it. Casey General Store is in town 3 weeks ago with 3 business leaders from this community trying to make a deal. They ran out of room, but those lots behind there was not for sale at the time. If everybody would have known that would have happened.
You mean the 2 empty lots behind Luigi's there?
Absolutely. The deal would have been done.
They're still for sale.
Well, they weren't on the market. They were for sale to the city, but they weren't on the market.
Right.
And Casey's General Store turned around and walked away out here 3 weeks ago, and no one in this community did nothing about it.
I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't have approached the city about it. I find it hard to believe that they would bring their 3 biggest business leaders in here and not want to talk to a representative of the city of
They didn't
Camanche.
bring the business leaders. They contacted the business owners and leaders of this community, people that spend the money in this community and pay a portion of the taxes.
Did they talk to you?
Why would they not contact the city representative?
Did they talk to you?
I mean, that's just bad business if that's the way.
They only knew that you can ask Steve Nauman if his building was for sale. You can ask Holstein's if their building was for sale, and you can ask Bob Richardson if his lot was for sale. Bob Richardson was not contacted because it was not on the market. But the city knew it was on the market.
If they wanted to buy it,
strange about it.
if they wanted, Bob approached the city, Bill. That's how the city knew about it. Why is that strange?
It's strange that why would the city go out and purchase something and not be communicating, there's no communication out raw with these business leaders in this community that paid a portion of these
I
taxes.
think what he's saying is, if this would have been on the market,
If there would've been a
sure, there
portion-
would have been more people or
And that's not the
businesses
city's
or
fault.
maybe even somebody from Clinton come down and look at this property if it would have been on the market. But he had made negotiations prior to this with Mr. Roth, and they just left this open to go through as a decision by the council, and I think that's where
That
he's
was
going
Bob
with it.
Richeson's, his prerogative as the property owner to hold on to that property. He said, I will not put it on the market until you guys make a decision of what you're gonna do with City Hall.
So that could have waited until the next budget.
What's that, Bill?
And why'd you guys push to buy it so quick? Because Mr. Rose stated to me that someone was calling about tips the other day. And it was, we had to.
That's
we
true.
had to hurry up and make an offer on this.
That's true.
If it wasn't for sale.
That's on the lots
we had to
behind
hurry
there.
up and make an offer. Why couldn't we wait till after elections, see what people wanted to do?
Because it would have been easy.
He wasn't gonna hold it forever, Bill.
I was on that committee.
Yeah.
I also suggested a referendum.
Really? You just told me Casey's was in here yesterday. So come on, you can't have it both
They didn't know
ways.
about the pharmacy land being for sale, that's the point, it wasn't on the market, like the other two properties are.
And then you just said, in the very next breath, there were no shoppers. So, come on. I'm not getting into double talk. I'm not gonna do that. I refuse to do that. I'll answer questions if you have legitimate questions, but if not, I think I'll wrap it up. I'd like to thank you guys for having us. I'd like to thank you for the food. It was very good.
Well, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Answering all of our questions.
Absolutely.